Hey guys, we're working on a Yamaha YZF-R6. Trying to do a complete carb cleaning on this thing because it's having some trouble staying running. So I'm going to go through a little tutorial to show you how to take it out and apart. So you're going to start off with two 8mm bolts right here for the gas tank. And then at the back, there's an Allen key bolt right here. We're going to lift this tank. We're going to shut off the gas. We're going to disassemble all the fuel lines and take it off. Okay, you can see now we got the tank propped up here. Still got that that rear bolt holding it in. Forgot about this also. There's a little cable right here. This is your fuel level sensor. And then there is the shut-off valve I was talking about. And we're just going to pull off this hose, which runs down through the fuel filter, and we'll pick up from there. Okay, now we have the bike's tank removed. So you can see we're looking at the air box here. A couple things you're going to have to undo. There's a 10mm bolt right here. Underneath here, you can see that you can see 3 of the clamps. There's 4 clamps in total. And this little screw right here on each of them should loosen the clamps. And if we go up top here, you can see down in there's a little screw down in there. And that's for the ram air that comes in from the front of the bike. There's one on each side. We're going to undo those. I think we can leave this little canister on right here on the side, but we'll see what happens once we get this opened up. Okay, once you've loosened off the ram air screws, you can see the screw down there. It's loose now. Should be able to fish our hand in here somewhere. We're just going to try pulling that tube off. Okay, like that. You can see where it's attached there. So we're going to pry this up. Also on this, you're going to want to remove this clamp right here and remove this tube to make it easier to get this box out, and we can kind of leave that canister right in the bike. Okay, there's going to be another clamp right here you want to undo. Squeeze that with some pliers and pull that off. It's holding the air box in still. Okay, there's going to be another one on the right hand side of the bike, same thing. I don't know if I can hold the camera and do this at the same time. Nope, I need 2 hands. Okay, so if you did all that right, airbox should lift right off the bike. Okay, so now we're looking at the carbs. So to take these things off, once you get all these wires out of the way. Okay, so before you start taking the carb off, there's a mess of wires right here. Oop. And one of them actually goes to the carburetor. And if we look right here, we can see this one with this white head right here. So we're going to disconnect that. Okay, once you get that clip disconnected there, if you look in the side here, it's going to be hard to do, really hard. Come on, focus. Anyways, right in there where my finger is, there's an Allen key screw. You'll have to undo that one. Corresponding one is on the other side. And then these 2 really tricky ones to get back here. Undo all 4 of those, and the carb should lift off. Okay, once you got those 4 undone, you're going to come down here and undo this one that goes into the fuel inlet. And you're going to pull that hose right off. Okay, another thing I forgot to mention, which a lot of people forget to do, especially when you're working on something like me for the first time. I work on a lot of cars, but never really any bikes. But you want to keep all your hardware together. So the easiest thing to do is just simply put it back where it came from, and you don't have to guess. Okay, so we're going to do that with both the tank bolts and also for the air filter. Okay, once you got the carbs off, you can see that they're actually free. There's a couple more things you're going to have to take off here. If we lift this up a little bit and flip it forward, shoot, you can see right down there is a throttle cable, a choke cable. And then over here on the left side, down in there, There's 2 throttle cables that need to be disconnected as well. Okay, and once you loosen the star screw right there, it should loosen up a little bit of tension on that clamp. This is really difficult to do with one hand. You should be able to pull this out. Sorry, it's too hard to do with one hand. Once you got it out, it should look just like that. And that can be just set aside. And it's going to be the same kind of heads for the throttle cables. Here's your 2 throttle connections. You want to make a note of how many threads are turned out on which one. Pay special mind to that. Okay, a couple things I forgot about that are still holding this carb on. We got this line right here, one on the left, and one over there on the right. We're going to loosen off those clamps. And I don't think they're fuel lines. I'm pretty sure they're actually coolant lines. So we're going to undo those and see what happens. Okay, over on the other side of the bike now, there's actually another thing. You can see that there's a cable right here. And this is your idle cable. So you can see it runs across there over to the actual dial that you turn. Now this thing easily just pops right up, and we're going to take it out with the carb. Okay, so once all that's done, you should actually have the carb completely off the bike. And this thing will be totally disassembled, cleaned. I'm going to recheck the jetting. If you look in there, you see that little screw that's in there? And there's one on each of them, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the pilot jets. So this bike was running pretty rich, I think, because it was shooting blue flames out the exhaust. So I think unburnt fuel is actually making its way into the exhaust system. Now, these jets were all out of whack from the previous owner, we found out. So what we did is tighten those screws all the way in till they stop, make a mark right on the housing of the carburetor for each one, and then from there you have a reference point so that you can turn them out 3.5 turns is what Factory Pro recommends apparently. So that should be proper jetting. But that is just a tiny little part of this entire process. Back over to the bike, you can see that all the carbs are off and everything's out of the way. And when we do the spark plugs, we're going to access them under this plastic panel. It's all behind there. So here's your intake. Looks like it's actually it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. But anyways, there's those clamps I was talking about that are hard to get at. So here's the Allen screws back here for tightening the 2 inner carbs. Now a good rule of thumb, something that I refuse to not do, is cover these intake port holes. So you can either wedge some paper towel in there to stop any debris from falling down into the engine, or you can clean them up and put tape on them. So I think we're gonna pack some shop towels in there. Okay, once you got the rag shoved in there, you don't have to worry anymore about any debris falling in and completely destroying the motor. So moving on. Okay, as we look down in these carbs, they really don't even look that bad. I mean, it's going to be a complete disassembly anyways, but you know, if I put my finger down in there, and I guess a trick is sometimes what you can do is actually put your mouth on this if you dare, and blow in there and see if these velocity or the slides actually open and close. You can see how they're opening and closing. Let's try this side. Oh. Oops, might help if it's the right one. You can see actually with just with your oxygen, just blowing out the air is actually opening and closing those, which is usually a good indication that not too much is damaged in there. But it doesn't matter. We're going to open it up and we're going to inspect every single part, and we're going to totally clean this thing with carb cleaner. Make sure nothing gets out of order whatsoever, because even the needles inside here are different sizes. I can't remember. They're numbered like 148 and 152, and they go in specific spots, either the inners or the outers. But for somebody who's never done this before, it's something that I definitely need to keep in mind. So we'll bring you up to speed once we start disassembling this. I'm actually going to do a time lapse, I think.